Hi, boys and girls. I'm Marie Gabriel, one of the three third grade teachers at JF Kennedy Montessori, and we are going to share an incredible book called Stone Soup. It's written by John Muth, and it's a story about sharing, believe it or not. It's a story about sharing. So, what I want to know is, have any of you ever shared something? What did you share? And why did you share it with them? Okay, you ready? So this is called Stone Soup, and it is a story about three monks, Hawk, Lock, and Sue. They journey along a mountain road trying to understand what makes one happy. At once, the monks encounter frightened villagers who lock their windows and darken their homes. The villagers have been ravaged by harsh times. There's been a war on their mountain, and their hearts have grown hard toward everyone they meet. That means they don't trust anybody because they're in war. But when the monks cleverly entice them to make soup from stones, the villagers discover how much they each have to give and how much more comes back. There are wonderful watercolors in this book, so hopefully I can hold it well so you can see the pictures. I always take off the dust cover when I read aloud, so that way the book doesn't slip in my hand. So this is the very opening of the book. I think it's beautiful. It's also stark, which makes me realize that they have been in war. This is our title page. So the book is called Stone Soup, and you can see 1, 2, 3 stones, and a soup bowl, and a spoon. Are you ready to begin with me? Kind of hard to see, isn't it? All right. Three monks, Hawk, Lock, and Sue, traveled along a mountain road. They talked about cat whiskers, the color of the sun, and giving. What makes one happy, Sue? Asked Hawk, the youngest monk. Old Sue, who is the wisest, said, let's find out. So there you see the three, and they're walking. The sound of a bell brought their gaze to the rooftops of a village below. They could not see from so high above that the village had been through many hard times. Famine, which means that they don't have enough food to feed the people. Floods, that means high waters. And war had many villagers wary and untrusting of strangers. They had even become suspicious of their neighbors. So here are the three monks, and they're looking down on the village below. The villagers worked hard, but only for themselves. There was a farmer, a tea merchant, a scholar, and that means somebody that just studies, a seamstress, she sews, a doctor, a carpenter, and many others. But they had little to do with one another. So they all lived separate lives because they'd been in war. So they were suspicious of anybody, everybody. When the monks reached the front of the mountain, the village When the monks reached the foot of the mountain, the villagers disappeared into their houses. No one came out to the gates to greet them. So here you see there's a wall that protects them, probably from the war. And here are the gates. And here's our three monks. And when the people saw them enter the village, they closed their windows tight. So because of the war, they didn't think they could trust anybody. So when these guys, even though they're monks, they were strangers. The monks knocked on the door of the first house. There was no answer. Then the house went dark. They knocked on a second door, and the same thing happened. It happened again and again from one house to the next. These people do not know happiness, they all agreed. But today, said Sue, his face bright as the moon, we will show them how to make stone soup. They gathered twigs, which are tiny little sticks, and branches, and made a fire. They placed a small tin pot on top and filled it with water from the village well. A brave little girl had been watching, came to them. "What are you doing?" she asked. Now, why do you think when the whole community, the whole village is scared, that this brave little girl came out? Do you think she was courageous? What do you think about this little girl? The whole community, the whole village is turning off their lights or putting out their fires and not answering their doors. And here comes this bright, sunny little yellow, or this bright, sunny girl in a yellow outfit. So she says, "What are you doing?" "We are gathering twigs," said Lock. "We are making a fire," said Hawk. "We are making stone soup, and we need 3 round, smooth stones," said Sue. I don't know about you, but I've never had soup with stones in it. So to me, that means they're super poor. If they don't have any food, they don't have anything to make vegetables or rice, anything to make the soup with, they're going to make it with stones. Let's keep reading and find out what happens. The little girl helped the monks look around the courtyard until they found just the right ones. Then they put them in the water to cook. Stone soup? You're going to make soup with 3 round stones? Ugh, I don't think I want to eat that. "These stones will make excellent soup," said Suey. "But this very small pot won't make much, I'm afraid." "My mother has a bigger pot," said the little girl. So the little girl is definitely not scared of the monks. The little girl ran home. As she started to take a pot, her mother asked what she was doing. "The 3 strangers are making soup from stones," she said. "They need our biggest pot." Said the girl's mother. "Stones are easy to come by. I'd like to learn how they do that." The monks poked the coals. As smoke drifted up, the neighbors peered out from their windows. So here in this beautiful watercolor, you can see people are starting to look out their windows. They're not turning out the lights and closing the doors. The fire in the large pot in the middle of the village was a true curiosity. One by one, the people of the village came out to see just what this stone soup was. So we already have a change in the villagers. They're going out now of their homes to see what's going on. Of course, old-style stone soup should be well seasoned with salt and pepper, said Hawk. That is true, said Locke, as he stirred the giant pot filled with water and stones. But we have none. I have some salt and pepper, said the scholar, his eyes big with curiosity. He disappeared and came back with salt and pepper and even a few other spices. So where do you think the scholar went to get his stuff, his ingredients? He went to his home. Sue took a taste. Last time we had soup stones of this size and color, carrots made the broth very sweet. Carrots? Said a woman from the back. I may have a few carrots, but just a few. And off she ran. She returned with as many carrots as she could carry and dropped them into the pot. So I'm starting to notice that even though the villagers were scared of the monks coming, and they were unsure of who the monks were, they started to bring things to share for the whole village. Do you think it would be better with onions? Asked Hawk. Oh, yes. Maybe an onion would taste good, said a farmer, and he hurried off. He returned in a moment with 5 big onions, and he dropped them into the bubbling soup. Now that's a fine soup, he said. The villagers all nodded their heads as the smell was very agreeable. But if only we had some mushrooms, said Sue, rubbing his chin. Several villagers licked their lips, a few dashed away, and returned with fresh mushrooms, noodles, pea pods, and cabbages. So we're starting to see that a couple of people from the village are starting to bring things to share. So this is a look into the pot. Something magical began to happen among the villagers. As each person opened their heart to give, the next person gave even more. And as this happened, the soup grew richer and smelled more delicious. Sorry, I imagine the emperor would suggest we had dumplings, said one villager. And bean curd, said another. What about cloud ear and mung beans and yams, cried some others. And taro root and winter melon and baby corn, cried other villagers. Garlic, ginger root, soy sauce, lily buds. I have some, people cried out, and off they ran, returning with all they could carry. The monks stirred and the pot bubbled. How good it smelled! How good it would taste! How giving the villagers have become. So have you noticed that the villagers have kind of changed? The villagers at first were very scared of the monks. They were scared because they'd been in war. And so they kept everything closed. They didn't share, they didn't speak, they didn't do anything together. They just stayed safe. Now these monks have come in and they're trying to get the villagers out to share what they have. Oh my goodness, look at this. Do you see a great big banquet? All the villagers. Let's read. At last the soup was ready. The villagers gathered together. They brought rice and steamed buns. They brought haichi nuts and sweet cakes. They brought tea to drink and they lit lanterns. everyone sat down to eat. They had not been together for a feast like this for as long as anyone could remember. Remember, because they were in war, so it was too dangerous to come out of their homes. What's happened to our little girl? After the banquet, they told stories, sang songs, and celebrated long into the night. Then they unlocked their doors and took the monks into their homes and gave them very comfortable places to sleep. In the gentle spring morning, everyone gathered together near the willows to say farewell, and that means goodbye. Thank you for having us as your guests, said the monks. You have been most generous. Thank you, said the villagers. With the gifts you have given, we will always have plenty. You have shown us that sharing makes us all richer. And to think, said the monks, to be happy is as simple as making stone soup. So I love that book. Our theme this week has been about kindness. And even though this book is about sharing, do you think sharing is kind? Yes. And why do you think that there are three monks and a little girl on this book? So I'm going to post some questions for you to answer so that way you can think and I can read and your teachers can read what you're thinking about this book, about how sharing goes into kindness, and we'll be happy to read your thoughts. Thank you very much for joining us.